What's up, everybody? I'm James.
I'm Maddie.
And today we're going to be sharing with y'all our testimonies of Jesus Christ and how we came to know Him and how He saved us from the lives we were once in. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my story and share it with y'all. It feels weird that you're not in here. So today, me and Maddie are going to be sharing with y'all our testimonies. And what started off for me was I was in high school. Pretty much I got involved with the wrong crowd. And it all started off with me being depressed in life. And of course every single high schooler goes through that kind of stage for the most part. Everyone has various cases of this depression though. And in order to escape that depression, I, of course went towards outlets of drugs and alcohol. It's something that everyone in high school, everyone continues to do it still. That became a big factor in my life. Ultimately, it led me to a very selfish life because of doing drugs and being around all these parties and all these people that were involved with this. I decided to start selling drugs. I just knew that wasn't me, but, I just thought it'd be cool to fit in, to want to try and make some extra cash. This all started with me hanging out with a few buddies of mine, and we're just like, this would be a good idea to make some cash. And eventually the seeds just kept getting planted. I eventually took action on it. During this time, obviously there was a bunch of failures in my relationships with other people, and specifically my family, and especially with my mom. What happened was she'd caught me multiple times dealing drugs and in the act of dealing to other people, smoking. There was plenty instances where she had come to the location I was at, had pretty much tried to invade on whatever it is that we were doing, and that kind of set me off to want to do more stuff, of course. Who wouldn't want to rebel if their mom was coming at them with a jackknife? But that pretty much happened. During that time also, I was in a relationship with a girl, and it wasn't very good, obviously. She knew I was dealing the drugs too. I obviously lied about it and, tried to cover it up. But what happened was that started to come down to a toll as well. And pretty much she had this sorority party for her formal. I got super blacked out drunk, and during this time I was really into doing a bunch of other drugs as well. One of them specifically Adderall, which basically messed up with my head. Never eating food or anything. I was just wired all the time, and it completely messed with my reality and how I viewed life. I always thought people were thinking other things when they weren't. Living in a life of fear is what it was. What happened was I got super blacked out drunk, and I started yelling. I don't even remember what happened, but that all just came tumbling down. And then about a week later, I tried making things right. Kind of started to question my life. Started focusing on placing myself in other people's shoes. And it started with her, and then it ended with my whole family and my mom. During that time when I was thinking about placing myself in other people's shoes, I was placing myself in my shoes, not in just the formal fashion that everyone says, oh yeah, do the golden rule, what others would do to you. But it was a more deeper sense of empathy, of actually looking at it as if you're doing it to yourself. Because if you were, yelling at someone, you wouldn't be doing it to yourself. Why would you be doing it to another person then? So I started to think like that. During this time, I was about to go hang out with some friends. And of course, I had to bring the bag of drugs with me. So I go into my closet to grab these drugs, and during this time I'm thinking about placing myself in other people's shoes. And I'm about to go throw these drugs out the window because my mom was obviously around and she didn't like it being around. And as soon as I thought about placing myself in other people's shoes, I thought of my mom. And then as soon as I thought of my mom, I see her walking across this path to just out of nowhere. And it was like the thought that I had of her had aligned perfectly with the reality I was living. I knew that it was for a reason that she had walked across this path, and that I had a choice to make right there at that moment. And that was when my life was completely transformed, and I gave my life over to Jesus Christ. And ever since then, my life has been fantastic. I mean, obviously there's been bumps in the road, but there's a peace that never leaves me, and I'm just content with whatever comes my way. And during those times of dealing drugs, obviously I was pursuing mad money. That's all I wanted in life, really, and I got it. But I have a verse for y'all real quick. It's Revelation 3:17, and basically describes who I was whenever I was unconverted. And for most of y'all who are not converted either, because you say, I am rich, have become wealthy, and have need of nothing, and do not know that you are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. That was pretty much the description of my life whenever I was dealing these drugs. Though I thought I was filled and clothed with what I thought was true life, it was a description of what I was and not of who I was. And now my identity is in Christ. So that is my testimony. Now Maddie's going to go ahead and share hers.
Hey y'all, so now I'm going to share my testimony with y'all. My whole life I was raised a Christian from probably since I was born. My mom and dad were Christians, my grandparents were Christians, and I basically grew up around the church. We went to church every Sunday. I always knew who God was. I always believed in God. In middle school, you're maturing and there's a lot of different things in the world. I was going to church, but I was also not really sure of who I was in middle school, and I was very insecure, like I'm sure most of y'all feel me. In middle school, I knew that I wanted to give my life to God, like to Christ. I knew it's what I needed to do. And so at a very special ceremony that happens once a year at my church, I decided to get baptized. It was the most life-changing, best experience of my life. So I decided to live my life in Christ alone. Then high school happened. And then in high school, things change. You lose friends, you gain other friends, and you're not really focused on school. It's all the social aspect. And I was in the popular crowd. I was very insecure in who I was. And I would read my Bible every morning, and I'd go to school, listen to my worship music, but I still felt so alone, and I didn't understand why I was feeling like this. I just felt really empty and depressed, and I knew I had a lot of things that I needed to work on, but I was still so unsure of myself, and that affected various relationships around me. So in high school, I got not involved with the wrong crowd, but the wrong types of people, like their character, and their bad character affected my good morals. And so basically I would hang out with them, but I'd also not drink. Of course, I was the DD every time we went out somewhere. And basically, like, I'm the type of person where if everyone's happy around me, then I'm happy. That's what I did. I just made sure everyone got home safely, they had fun, and then I had fun. And I'm just a very giving person, so I just wanted everyone around me to be happy and to feel loved by me. But every single time I winded up empty. In high school, I ended up in a relationship I knew was wrong. I felt God tell me that I shouldn't be in that relationship, but I denied it. I was in denial. I thought that this boy loved me and who I was, and every time I was around him, I never felt good enough. I always felt like something was missing, and so I thought that I could win him over by spending all the money in the world that I made at my job on him, and I always winded up empty. I would pour out my feelings to him daily, and he just didn't care. I mean, he acted like he cared, and I tried to take him to church, and he went to church with me, and I tried to talk to him about God, and he just didn't care. He didn't care to know who God was. And I knew that I was in the wrong relationship, but I was so in denial that I didn't want to be alone, and I was comfortable. And then I went off to college, and at Texas State, go Bobcats. Yeah, no. So I went to Texas State. My first day there, very first day there, I get a text from my boyfriend at the time asking if it was okay if he went to a party. And I was very torn because I know what Texas State parties are like. I hadn't been to one because it was my first day there. And I basically gave him an ultimatum. I said, if you want to go have fun, you go have fun, but I'm not going to be a part of your life. And he told me that he wasn't going to go, and he basically lied to me. And I got a phone call at 3 in the morning, and him crying and throwing up, telling me that he's sorry, he messed up, and he won't do it again. And it broke my heart, but I knew that I needed to end this relationship. So the next day, I tried to go talk to him. He didn't listen. He thought I was crazy. He thought I was in denial and that, it's fine, we're all going to work out. I just realized I didn't have any feelings for this boy. It was nothing. I felt nothing towards this boy. And I knew what I needed to do, and I tried to break up with him in person, and it just didn't work. And so I did it over text. I know, yeah, savage or whatever, but I knew what I had to do, and I knew that the only way for me to pursue Christ was to not have this type of relationship. I knew I deserved better, and it was probably one of the hardest decisions I had to make, but I did it, and I don't regret it all. I don't regret any part of my past. My past is my past for a reason. It's who made me who I am today. And so with a Texas State, I was broken from the relationship still, and so I was looking to parties to fill my emptiness. And I knew it wasn't right. I knew what I was doing wasn't right. I knew I shouldn't be drinking. Did it anyways because I wanted to fit in. I got into a sorority. I thought I was so cool because, I was in the best sorority. I still felt empty. And all these girls were so nice to me, to my face, and they would go talk about behind my back. I would go to these parties and literally feel just so empty. Nothing in the world could make me feel good enough at these parties unless I was drinking. So I basically was trying to live a double life. I was trying to serve two masters. In the morning, I'd read my devotional, I'd pray to God, and then at night, I would go and party. And I knew what I was doing was wrong, and every morning I'd wake up and ask God to forgive me, and I knew something had to change. I knew that I needed to fix something in order to make God the center of my being. I needed to put God first. So after the first semester, I was at home. So Texas State is in St. Marcus, so I was at home in Houston, and I went to go run my dogs. And I was on this run, and it hit me like you hit a train, but in a good feeling way. I really can't describe it. And I felt God tell me that I needed to leave Texas State. And I just stopped running, and I just stood there, and I felt like a cool breeze, and I just said, okay. And he said, I heard God tell me that I needed to transfer to ACC, Austin Community College. Okay, I went home, I told my mom what I was going to do. I did it, and on my way to Texas State to go pack up my stuff, I was bawling. I didn't want to leave this world, this reality of this good time, all these quote-unquote friends, and I knew what I had to do. And so I got my stuff, I packed up, and I moved out. I moved to Austin with my dad, and I was all alone. I had no friends. I didn't have my family with me. Basically, I think God made me take everything away from me to realize that all I needed was him. And so it basically changed my life completely, in the sense that God told me to leave Texas State. I knew that I had a much better life without going to university, and it was the toughest decision I've ever had to make in my life, but it was definitely the best decision I've ever made. And it was such a blessing in disguise, because it's made me who I am today, to realize that I needed to put God first. And you can't serve two masters. You can't go to parties, get drunk. You can't pursue boys and drinking in this party world and also pursue God. You have to choose. And I chose God. And I can honestly say that was the best decision of my life. So I hope that this testimony helps y'all out there, and that y'all can relate to what I was going through. I never felt good enough my whole life. I've never felt it. I never felt good enough. And until I put God first, I felt good enough. My emptiness was completely filled, complete. And God made me complete. And so that's my testimony.
All right, everybody. So that's our testimonies. We hope y'all can relate to these experiences. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to comment your own experiences or any questions you might have about God. We'd be happy to answer them. That's all we really are passionate for in this life. Of course, we are passionate for fitness as well, but that's our main focus, is God and just sharing the love and light of Christ to everyone. So please be sure share this, comment, like, subscribe, and Maddie, sign us off.
Thank y'all for watching. Stay tuned for more.
We're gonna be doing a YouTube video with Maddie, and hope y'all enjoy.
Get your Fruity Pebbles. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, we're gonna bring the slam dunk on y'all.